Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And today we are going to be talking about something that I actually found quite interesting. A pendant is 20,000 years old, and DNA can show us who wore it. And if that doesn't
Yes.
sound clickbaity enough, let's dive into this wonderful
Yes.
article.
Yes. Justin is usually incredibly bored during this series where we talk about, the latest up and coming news from the field of archaeology.
Some things are more
So,
interesting than others.
yeah, that's why he's in here. So, yeah, we have a wonderful little pendant featured right up here.
Mhm.
And you know, scientists have been able to extract the DNA of the person who wore it just, you know, by the fact that it would have been touching their skin, which is pretty incredible because normally to get DNA evidence out of anything as archaeologists, you need something like seeds or human bones.
Yeah, so the reason that this actually happened was the material that the pennant was made out of is actually bone. And
Mhm.
bone as a material is very porous and can take in these microparticles that can contain DNA such as skin flakes, oils, just a bunch of stuff. So over time it accumulated within the object and scientists were able to extract that, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah, the bone in question is an elk tooth.
Yes.
And the phrase elk's canine tooth is something that's going to be sticking with me for a long time, as that's just, it's a natural biology part, but it's just not something you think about as elk having a canine tooth. Like it's just you don't you're looking at like were elk and vampire elk the second you think of that.
Don't you
Except
remember the elk that snuck up
normal.
on us?
Yes,
Imagine them
they
with
didn't sneak
massive
up on us.
canines.
We were aware of those things. um, we're aware of those things, and yeah, yeah. Oh yes, lovely creatures. See them in the wild, just walking right up through the site. But
uh,
not this fella. This fella been dead for a while.
the interesting thing to me, though, so the fact that they're able to extract the DNA is phenomenal. But the thing that I find very interesting is where this actually comes from. And it comes from a cave called Denisova Cave, which is in, I believe, Siberia. Yes, Siberian cave.
Yeah.
And it's actually pictured here in the second image. But this cave was home to a number of different hominid species. It shows that humans, both in the modern incantation and even some of the previous versions, so to speak, came here. So this cave is actually what the Denisovans are named after, a pre-hominid, and also they found remnants of Neanderthal living in the same cave along with modern hominids. So you see the three different species of human all coming to this cave at different points and different times. And of course, there was overlap between Denisovans, humans, and Neanderthals. So it's
Yeah.
probably a little bit of a stretch, but it's not impossible to have seen all three present at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing here that the article I don't think really gets into is which particular hominid species had the whose DNA was on the pendants. It specifies that it was a woman's DNA, but it does. I don't believe it specifies whether it is a Denisovan, a Neanderthal, or a modern human whose DNA was found on the pendant. Animal bone adornments had existed since about 100,000 years ago, so 80,000 years of production. They're pretty commonplace at this point in history when the one in this cave is found. But what is pretty fascinating to me is the scientific aspect of how they got the DNA out, because the microbiology people really do come up with some unique solutions to draw DNA out of things that you really wouldn't think have viable DNA left in them. Uh, Effectively, what they've done is used a technique called washing machine. They nicknamed it a washing machine. What it is it's a clean room, and effectively you are taking the tooth and you're soaking it in particular batch of chemicals that allows DNA to be extracted from the tooth without drilling into it, which was the old way of getting DNA out of these objects. So it's non-destructive. It's perfect good. It's kind of like, putting a penny in vinegar and lemon, to get rid of rust.
But I think that's a very important point to just kind of circle back to is a lot of research techniques that we think about when it comes to archaeology and to prehistory like this are destructive methodologies. It
Yeah,
requires a certain percentage of the material to be destroyed so we can understand more about this. Even to go as far as carbon 14 dating. So, for them to even date the object, they would have needed to
yeah,
sacrifice a portion of it for the sampling. So the
yeah,
fact that they're able to extract the DNA and do it in a non-destructive method
yeah,
opens up numerous opportunities to now try and extract DNA from items that we may have not wanted to impact previously or may not be in condition to be impacted like that.
yeah. I just have to say, just the particular lab that is doing this work is in Leipzig, and of course it's German. It's like, of course, Germany's got the cool new stuff. The archaeologists over there do love innovation, and one of the big reasons why this particular, not just a particular pendant, but this particular methodology is very important. In addition to it not destroying the artifact in question, is that this allows us to take things that ordinarily we couldn't get DNA out of and extract the human DNA from it, which allows us to better understand social roles, gender roles, and just status symbols within uh, now extinct societies. Because let's be honest, a large part of archaeology is the most logical conclusion or the best guess, but that's still a guess. If we have DNA tying, specific objects only to certain genders or even, you know, signs of social class, then that goes a long way to our understanding.
Yeah, so it's a very fascinating new scientific methodology that's in place. It's from a very very fascinating cave, and maybe that's something we could eventually talk about in a different series, the Denisova cave, because there's so much to be talked about with the overlap of species and the hominid species that's named after it. But yeah, this was kind of a really cool article that popped up, and this is one of the things that is honestly, I think, the true nature of why we do this series, because stuff like this isn't publicized in the news very often and it's not really brought to the attention, but stuff like this opens up a brand new realm of information to. But on that note, I think we will wrap up this episode and we'll see you guys in the next video.